we're welcoming now our good friend Ted Murmagos, the Director of Child Support Services, the Division of Child Support Services here in the First State. Ted, welcome back to the program.
Good morning, Jake. How you doing?
We didn't think we were going to have you today because of a possible commitment to jury duty, but you're here. And Ted, I got another call this week already from someone who I think they're going to call in today. They had a question about child support services. The requests, the problems, they're out there, but now it seems that the road to getting those problems resolved is perhaps a little easier to handle. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would this coming here, once a month, that's helping getting more clients and non-custodial parents into resolve some of their concerns and their issues. And I mean, that's what it's all about, is trying to help people get child support and helping to get non-custodial parents back on track if they're not paying, start getting them to pay on a regular basis.
So the taxpayer doesn't,
exactly.
Is not on the hook. Ted, we're going to go to our first call, and then we're going to take, just to let Max know, then we'll take our first break. And then we're going to talk about the case. I actually brought you on special to talk about the case that we had, which was a simple case of you didn't know where. You had money for a custodial parent, but couldn't get the money to the custodial parent because you didn't have the information needed to get in contact with them, right?
We send.
So, we'll talk. Let's take the phone call first, and we'll get to that story as well. Let's go to our first caller, Louis Meineke, doing Car Care Right Talk Line. Caller, good morning. You're on the air with Ted Murmagos. Ted is the Director of the Division of Child Support Services here in Delaware. Go ahead.
Good morning, Ted. Great that you come on. Question. I had some difficulty making some payments because of COVID, not getting a tax return, and I got kind of caught up in the system. And then when everything came to push and shove, I was able to make a payment at a Georgetown location. And I said, this is really great. This is really convenient. I look forward to coming back, next month and making a payment. And the folks at the office said, well, you can't make a payment here. You're going to have to now send it to Wilmington. Right. My question is, if there's an office in Georgetown that's really efficient, that really would help single dads who are working a lot, why can't we make payments? And I'm not talking about the kiosk at the DMV, because that's really, there's so many charges. But there is an office in Georgetown that was great. The people there were great. They was fully staffed with 3 people. And my question is, why can't we make payments there? And that's really my question.
Right, and thank you for that question.
It is a good question. Go ahead.
Yep. And what we're trying to do is this. Over the years, we have expanded the way that people can make child support payments, bringing on electronic means and. All of the court orders that are issued by the state, there's an address to where those payments have to be sent. Ultimately, we have a courier, but they're not coming down to Georgetown every day. They're coming down every, it's twice a week to pick up, documents that need to go to either Kent County and Newcastle. So, ultimately getting the funds that would have been paid in the Sussex County office, getting them to the Newcastle office where our state disbursement unit is, it wouldn't be timely enough. So ultimately, we've had to get away from accepting payments in our Kent and Sussex County offices, except for if someone is going to be incarcerated. And the courts have said they have to make a purge payment or a bail payment.
Right.
We certainly don't want someone to be incarcerated when they got money to make a payment.
So there are exceptions?
There are exceptions. Okay. License suspension, if we've suspended your license and you have to make a lump sum payment, we're going to accept them in all 3 offices. But we quite honestly don't want a courier carrying lots of money up and down the state. There's some liability issues.
It creates security issues too.
And we absolutely do not accept cash. I mean, that's one thing that when you start accepting cash, it creates, problems and things that we just don't want to get involved in.
So the caller obviously brings up a good question. Frequently in Sussex County, we feel that we don't have the same services as up in Newcastle County. What is your response to this caller?
Yeah, I mean, what I'd like to tell the caller is we have go to our website, go to the child support website, and there's a whole page about how you can make payments in the state of Delaware. There is, for convenience, there's a website called iPay Online. There's no fees associated with making a payment. You can make a payment directly from a debit card, a credit card.
So they'll deduct it from your
account.
account just from that website.
Yep.
Okay.
And you can make that electronic payment. You can make a one-time payment. You can set it up to pay
Regular basis?
once every month, once every couple weeks. And we're also looking, this is something in the near future. We're looking at Venmo. We're looking at PayPal, setting up a system that they can go through those two payment apps and send a payment to the Division of Child Support. So
here in Sussex County, there are segments of Sussex County that do not have reliable internet service. As hard as that is to believe, caller, is that something that you might be able to do? Can you go to a library and set up a payment, something like that? He's not there.
Okay.
He's dropped off. All right, but he brought up a good point.
Yeah.
I hope he gets that information and is able to use it, Ted.
Yep.
Ted, we need to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about that story because if our listeners didn't hear it, you had a significant sum of money. I think it was almost $10,000.
Yeah, $9,200.
Yeah, that was supposed to go to a custodial parent. You couldn't find the custodial parent, and then through this broadcast you did, and were able to present this custodial parent with a check. It was an amazing story, and we'll talk about it again in case you missed it here on Delmarva Live, our special segment with Ted Murmagos, the Director of the Division of Child Support Services here in Delaware. Ted's taking your calls, your questions, your problems, 302-945-9292, 800-518-9292, and pound 927. That's a free call. Compliments of Verizon Wireless on your Verizon Wireless cell phone. More with Ted after this. You're listening to the award-winning Delmarva Live. Delmarva's anchorman, Jake Smith, with you until noontime. Dan Bongino, the enforcer, is coming your way just after the news at noon. And, Ted, the story that you're going to be giving once again to our listeners, telling to our listeners, it just is something so simple of not having the proper contact information for a custodial parent, but something as simple as the wrong address, the wrong information. People don't update their contact information with your department, and yet by way of this broadcast, you were able to get in contact with a custodial parent and give them a check for almost $10,000, which I'm sure they were very happy to get. But it just goes to tell you, you may assume that your department has the right information,
right,
and that somebody's not paying. And that's not the case at all, right?
And that's, I mean, and Jake, I'm glad you said that because I kind of forgot that piece. That's the best part of the story is like the custodial parent was saying, nothing is happening. I'm not getting any money. There's no enforcement going on.
Right.
And when I got your email, that you forwarded from her, I looked at the case and I was so shocked when I saw
Isn't that amazing,
there's
Ted?
all this money sitting here, and just being able to reach out to her and with electronic means, we have the first, we have a Relia card, it's a debit card. We have direct deposit. So people think like I got these things set up so I move and I don't need to keep my address updated. But it's so important that people keep their addresses updated, even if we're sending money to a bank account or sending money to that.
And you had sent checks to her in the past that had been returned, right?
Yes. These checks had gone out to her and were returned back to child support. And so when I got her email, it was like I couldn't wait to reach out to her, and she gave us a new address. I was able to update it in the system. And then I even thought a second, I'm like, man, this is a lot of money to be sending, via the post office and in the mail. I just said, come to our office in Newcastle, and we'll get you.
It's like a Publishers Clearinghouse moment, I guess, right?
And I was able to hand deliver it to her, and she was she was really happy. I think she sent you an email thanking you, and just so happy that she got those funds. And
but again, to the custodial parents, make sure that everyone at the Division of Child Support Services has updated information. Listen, we move. We change our addresses. We change our email addresses. We change our phone numbers. Make sure they have updated information for you, because if they don't, it could slow down the entire process for both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. Bank accounts close, and they don't give us a new bank account to send the money to. So it's just keeping us up to date on where you are, and that helps with the case processing.
302-945-9292, 800-518-9292, and pound 927. That's a free call. Compliments of Verizon Wireless on your Verizon Wireless cell phone. Our guest is Ted Murmagos, the Director of the Division of Child Support Services here in Delaware. If you're a non-custodial parent, you have a question, for Ted. Ted's here not only to answer your questions, but for those of you who can't call in, perhaps, it's just you're at work or something, you can always send me an email, jake.smith@wgmd.com. I cannot tell you how many emails we get from people that Ted is able to help, because I forward this email directly to the director. The director says, Jake, I'm on it.
Yep.
I've sent him emails Saturday, Sunday. Ted responds to me 7 days a week, and he responds immediately. And that's, you want to cut through the red tape, you want to get right to the boss, send me an email and I'll forward it on to Ted. Ted, one of the things that we've been doing this now for 2 years, I think.
Yep.
And this is a tough time of year, because this is the time kids are going back to school. They need clothes for school. They need school supplies. Here at Kim Benton State Farm, Kim gets donations for school supplies. Okay. But tell us how difficult it is for your department, because the custodial parents, they're calling your office. We need money. The kids have to go back to school. Last year, probably not so bad because kids weren't in school, but now they're going back. Tell us what it's going to be like for your department.
So, I mean, other than Christmas, Jake, or, around a month before Christmas, this is the time of year that is the most hectic for the child support offices, because rightfully so, children need to be prepared to go back to school. And you know how fast children are growing. They need new clothes. They need supplies for school.
And they don't have new clothes. The other kids see that, and they tease them, and they give them a hard time. They don't look like they have the proper clothes and so forth. So
there's a lot of pressure on custodial parents to try and provide for their children at this time of year, and the calls to the child support office do increase. Cases that are not getting child support and the attention's not being necessarily brought to the child support worker on those particular cases. Them calling, the custodial parent calling, does help to make the child support specialist aware that that the case may need some special enforcement activities. And we do have automated enforcement tools, and we talk a lot about the license suspension program and the tax intercept program. But there are some things we can do to try and make the non-custodial parent comply with the court order. Generating a contempt petition. We are generating contempt petitions before the family court with the help of the Department of Justice. And it gets people back into court to answer why they're not following the order that's been put in place.
Ted, if I could maybe garner a guess for most of the emails that I get from custodial parents, some men, mostly women, but the biggest complaint is the non-custodial parent has a good job, makes the money, is in business for themselves, whatever, and just chooses not to pay. And that's where the taxpayers have to say, hey, come on.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if the non-custodial parent has a place of employment, the child support office should know that information and be able to send an order of income withholding directly to that employer to start those deductions. When we talk about self-employed individuals, when we talk about people who are supporting themselves by doing illegal activities, I mean, those are the hardest cases for us to enforce, and really we have to rely on the family court to help us do that.
302-945-9292. That is the number here in the studio. Max Powers in the studio. He'll pick up your call. He will forward that call down here to Ted Myrmagos, the Director of the Division of Child Support Services here at Kim Benton State Farm. 302-945-9292. Let's check marine weather. We've got a Fox Business Report as well. And then more with Ted Myrmagos.
Thanks.
Let's go to the phones. We have a call for Ted Myrmagos, the Director of the Division of Child Support Services, 302-945-9292. You're live with Ted Myrmagos on the Lewis Meineke Doing Car Care Right Talk line. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Hey, guys. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. Go ahead.
Good. Mr. Ted, quick question, and I guess a statement. I don't really know how to word it, but I am now 27, so I believe when I turned 18, my dad owed a ton of money, a majority of my life. I don't think he ever was paid up on child support ever. And it was my understanding that once I turned 18, everything he owed then went to the state. And my question, I guess, would be, if that's true, why is that? And if it's not true, where does that money that he owed then go?
Wow, good question. Good question, caller. Go ahead, Ted.
Yeah, thanks for calling. So you're kind of right and absolutely totally off base. So the first part is this. So the age of emancipation in the state of Delaware is 18. So when a child turns 18, if they're still in high school, it then goes 18, but then when they graduate from high school, but ultimately all child support ends when the youngest child turns 19. So any arrears that accrued,
right.
and arrears accrue when the current support obligation for a particular month is not met. So if the courts say, the obligation is $100 a month, and the non-custodial parent only pays $80, the $20 would become an arrears balance, part of an arrears balance.
Right.
Any arrears that accrue. Now, there are some situations where the custodial parent is on temporary assistance to needy families. That's TANF, also known as welfare. If that's the case, and arrears accrue while they're on TANF, anything that is owed would be owed to the state of Delaware. But if the custodial parent is not on TANF, any arrears that accrue would be paid to the custodial parent. So that, I just want to make sure, like when he was saying, well,
his dad didn't pay, I guess, when he was growing up, and now that he's 18, he wants to know, does his dad still owe that money, and who does he owe that money to?
Yeah.
Correct, caller? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, so I'm not totally sure if my mom was on welfare. I mean, all I can tell you is that I started work when I was 14 to help pay the bills. So, I mean, I was kind of taken away, which, I mean, obviously I know that my dad's consequences are not your problem. But I don't believe that she was on welfare. So I guess my question then would be, where are we at with that? So I don't know if that's another concern that should be looked at. I mean, if I should leave my email to Jake or how that should work.
Yeah, this is the thing. Any arrears that are owed, whether they're owed to the custodial parent, whether they're owed to the state of Delaware, are owed until they are paid off. Unless the custodial parent says, I forgive these arrears.
But who does he owe that money to? His mother or the child who is now emancipated?
Yeah, no, those arrears are owed to the custodial parent.
Got it.
And there are times where, children come to child support and say, my mom, the custodial parent, is deceased, and I still want these arrears. We actually send them to family court and let the
and that's
courts,
a court decision.
Yeah, let the courts tell us.
Caller, let me just say, I'm sorry that you had to grow up like this, but it sounds to me like you really have put your life together, and you really should be proud of what you've accomplished. And send me an email, and I'll forward it over to Ted, okay?
Okay, fantastic. Thank you guys for your time. I really appreciate it. Hope you have a great day.
All right, my pleasure. God bless you, and good luck to you.
And thank you.
You're listening to Delmarva Live on 92.7 WGMD, WGMD.com, and via your WGMD app. Yes, the Alan Parsons Project. Let me, Ted, you remember the Alan Parsons Project?
I do. I'm not. I do.
He does. Okay, great. Finally, somebody who remembers the same music that I remember, and of course, Max Power does. He's playing back in the back in Studio A. Ted, the governor's emergency order is in effect right now. So if you're going to go directly to in person, the Division of Child Support Services, you will need to wear a mask right now. Is that correct?
That's correct. I mean,
so bring one with you.
Bring one with you. If you don't have one, we certainly can give you one. But we are requiring that anyone coming into a child support office, masks up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about this a little bit earlier. We're getting closer to the start of the new school year, but between the opening of school and Christmas is your busiest time of year. Your department handles more requests for assistance this time of year than any other. How do you handle that?
Yeah. I mean, quite honestly, Jake, like you were saying, this is the busiest time of year for us, but we've actually over the pandemic situation expanded the number of people that can get on a phone and answer. And I haven't.
So you have expanded capacity to handle phone issues.
Expanded capacity. So anyone that calls child support at 302-577-7171, there will be someone that can answer your questions. They'll take your call, and you can speak to a live child support specialist who will be able to triage your particular situation.
Triage. Wow, I like that.
Yeah.
Ted, I'd like to really. We've been doing this for 2 years now. You've never used the word triage.
Yeah. So, I got to try to step up my game a little bit, So, I mean, there are, we have the functionality to be able to answer your phone calls, triage your situation, and get your particular situation to the right caseworker who can process the case accordingly. But we see about an uptick in calls to our child support offices, and we do our best to try to answer those calls timely. One of the things, Jake, I hear a lot is, I was on hold for an hour. I called your customer service line and was on hold, for 45 minutes.
Right.
And I try to tell people and anyone who's calling our office, if you are on hold more than 20 minutes, 25 minutes maximum, hang up and call back in because
Okay.
there's a problem. And it's not with someone not picking up the call. I mean, there's something going on with the phone system that would keep you on hold for over 45 minutes. We have the capability. Supervisors and managers can watch the queue, and if they see that it's elevating, we get more people on
It's like the DMV,
lines.
right?
Yep.
Okay. Now, the gentleman that just called in, his dad hadn't paid child support. He wanted to know. He's already emailed me, Ted. So I'm going to, before you leave here, you will have that email, and he's got his phone number there.
Sounds good.
You'll be able to contact him.
Yep.
Again, if there's a special situation where you need to speak directly to the director of the Division of Child Support Services, his name is Ted Myrmagos. He's here every third. I have to think about that. Third Wednesday of every month.
Yep.
Here at Kim Benton State Farm. Ted will respond, and he responds very, very quickly. And if you want to send me an email, jake.smith@wgmd.com, I'll be glad to forward that on to Ted. Ted will respond very promptly. If you have a question in the last couple of minutes that you'd like to ask a question of Ted Myrmagos, the director of the Division of Child Support Services here in Delaware, give us a call at 302-945-9292, 800-518-9292. If you have a Verizon wireless cell phone, you can call toll-free as well, pound 927. So, Ted, between now and Christmas is the busiest time of year.
Yep.
Those who are calling your department, do they need a little bit more patience this time of year because the number of calls tends to go up during this period?
Yeah, I mean, we're always asking for patience.
I know it's hard, but
yeah, that goes without saying.
there are a lot of emotions involved with child support, obviously.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, and what I would encourage people to do is not wait. And we talk about this too, Jake, all the time. Don't wait. If you're a custodial parent and you haven't gotten child support, don't wait until November to start calling. I mean, call now and let us take a look at the case and take the steps. If it requires us going to family court, we take certain steps. We generate a contempt petition, for instance. We have to send it to the Department of Justice, who will sign it and get it over to family court. But once it gets to family court, it's out of our hands. The courts have a process to schedule hearings before a commissioner or before a mediator, and it requires some time. And sooner the better. Don't wait. You should be reaching out to us as soon as possible if you're trying to get things lined up for the holiday season.
Ted, you've said this repeatedly. We hate to sound like a broken record, but if you're the non-custodial parent, don't let these problems linger.
Yeah.
Get on the phone and work them out. There are solutions to every problem, but going into hiding is not one of the solutions. Right?
Absolutely not. That's
it's going to make things worse.
It's going to make things worse. And one of the things that I often have to try to talk to non-custodial parents about is that whole being sentenced to incarceration. The courts are going to look at the situation, and if you missed a court hearing, they're not going to incarcerate you. They're going to reschedule the hearing that you missed and make sure that you're there. If you're not making payments, if you walk into family court because you have a capias and you have some money that you can pay on your child support case, I can't speak for everybody, but it's highly unlikely that they're going to incarcerate you. If you're going to have a payment that you can make, the courts are going to say, go to the child support office, make that payment, and come back with a receipt, and we would give them a receipt to take
They look
back
for
to the
intent,
court.
Ted. Do they look at intent, saying, listen, he's trying to make or she's trying to make things right?
Absolutely.
Now, you wanted to mention about those who are incarcerated
Right.
and the CARES payments that they got. We've got 2 minutes. Maybe you can tell us about that.
Jake, I mentioned to you off air, there was a time where, specifically here in Sussex County, there was about 5 incarcerated folks from Sussex County who filed a lawsuit against myself and the division, saying that we didn't have the authority to intercept their CARES Act.
Right. They wanted their CARES Act money. They didn't want you to intercept it and then give it to the custodial parent. Right. Understood.
With the help of the Department of Justice, we dealt with those suits in the Justice of the Peace Court down here, and those issues were resolved, and then all of their filings were dismissed by the court. I'm starting to receive letters again from Sussex County inmates, basically saying that we didn't have the authority to intercept that $1,200 payment. And I'm personally responding to each one of these letters. Probably gotten about 5 or 6 of them in the last week or two. And it's kind of noteworthy that all of these letters are kind of worded the same. So I don't know if if they're talking about it and making sure they put the same language down, but. I want to make sure that people know under the CARES Act that those $1,200 funds that came to Delawareans in May of 2020, we were authorized to intercept those payments.
So over a year ago, these payments came through.
Yeah.
And you're still dealing with this.
Yeah, we're still dealing with the fallout. But I'm personally responding to these incarcerated folks to let them know we had the authority to intercept them. You owe arrears on your child support case, and we're applying those payments and sending them out to custodial parents. So. I've had to send out about 5 or 6 letters in the last week, and I'm happy to do that. I want them to know we had the legal authority to intercept that. So.
And again, if you are incarcerated listening to this broadcast, or you were incarcerated, there's an issue about your CARES payment. You want to shoot me an email, jake.smith@wgmd.com. I would be glad to forward that email on to Ted so that you can see some type of resolution. Again, jake.smith@wgmd.com. Ted, I know you couldn't plan on coming here for this segment until the last moment because you were scheduled for jury duty, but I thank you for your commitment to this segment every month. It has made a huge difference for custodial as well as non-custodial parents. And it is and children of those who non-custodial parents who have had to deal with these things. We just received a call just a little while ago, but it's made a big difference. And I think also those people who feel that they want to speak to they want their problem resolved. They want to speak to the boss. It's giving them access to you. I don't know about you. Recently I was talking to somebody about something. I want to speak to the manager, and they are speaking to the manager, the director. And I think it's given them access to someone who is the troubleshooter, and you're the troubleshooter. I think they look at you as a troubleshooter, and I thank you for your continued commitment to this segment. All of us at the station are just amazed at how important this segment has been. We didn't think it was going to be so, but it's taken on a life of its own.
In September, we'll start year 3.
Unbelievable.
There you go.
Ted, thanks so much for coming on.
Excellent.
Ted Murmagos, the Director of the Division of Child Support Services. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
You're listening to Delmarva Live on 92.7 WGMD, WGMD.com, and via your WGMD app. Music to one of the greatest motion pictures ever, The Sting.